Hey, true believers, Chris Mack coming at you with Marvel Comics Presents issue 89. And I forget how awesome these Marvel Comics stories were. And how, even though these were short stories, every one of them, for the most part, were engaging, and the artwork was just absolutely spectacular. So let's jump into who made these short stories real quick. Wolverine is Peter David. Writing artist is Sam Keith. Letter is David Sharp. Colors is Pat Garney. Beast writer Scott Liddell. Penciler was Jay Lee. That's to show how where everyone kind of started. Inkers was Tom Dawson and Don Hudson. Letter was Diana Albers. Colorist was Mike Thomas. Spitfire was Dan Slott. Penciler was Rita Fingani. Inks was Jim Starlin. Letter Diana Albers. Colorist was Dan Slott. That's interesting. The last one, Mojo, was Dan Slott writing. Joe Moderna doing the pencils. Inker was Chris Ivy, letter was Steve Duro, and colors was Fred Mendez. And the print date on this book was, I think it was 1991, but what was the month? Hold on a second, I have a brain fart. November 91. So you can see there is big names, and you all have to start somewhere. And, Marvel Comics Presents was kind of a testing ground to see how artists and writers and whatnot could do their chops. And so that's why, Jay Lee, Scott Liddell, big names right there now. In this first story, this leads up after the first appearance of Cyber. And I just love how, I want to say Cyber, Tiger has this sort of really surreal dream. Like the whole book in and of itself is surreal. Now, I'm going to point out what really inspired me to pick up this book. I happened to just kind of see a blurb on Instagram. And it's the fight between Cyber and Logan. And I mean, look at the way they made this dream sequence here. It's called Blood Hungry, Part 5. And I just love how it goes from regular, beautiful, traditional artwork like this to just this surreal, kind of like Bill Sienkiewicz's madness. And the blurb that inspired me to pick this up, the pages, for whatever reason, will not let me change. But it gets kind of comical. We see these onomatopoeias, slice, sack, snink, sack, hack, sneak, snick, snick. Kind of like a samurai show-off. And then who's going to go down? And Logan gets, this is the blurb right here. Logan gets diced up like ham. And because it's Peter David, you have to have that kind of weird humor with that. I really enjoy in his books. And Cyber's like, well, that certainly cuts you down to size. And Logan just kind of got that look of surprise, and he's like, not finished yet. Oh, I think you are. So long, Logan. It's been surreal. And that's what I love about Peter David, is he just adds this element to where he could be serious, but still put in humor. And it works to the book. And you come to find out that Logan's having, he's reeling from the fight with Cyber, and he's having this fight in his mind. And it's just a great way to continue on with this story. But we're going to skip past because I want you guys to pick this up. The next story is called My Pal Muggsy. Just how Beast would say something like that. And he's standing over the Constrictor, and he goes, "Psst, Frankie, wake up." And so the Constrictor's like, what the hell is Beast doing in my bed? He's like, you can't take the Constrictor unaware. I bet you thought I was sleeping, didn't you? And Beast just, ha, yourself. I have no time for your hired assassin routine, Constrictor. I'm asking you again, who hired you to kill me? So this one's kind of like a murder mystery, and the Constrictor kind of becomes this pawn where he thinks he's just doing an assassin, but he comes to find out he's being put up. And so I like how Beast says, it might behoove you to concentrate harder. Maybe then you can tell me why a sick and old Fantastic Four villain who talks to himself could be even remotely interested in an ex-Avenger, ex-Defender, ex-X-Men like me. Face it, Frankie, you've been set up. And so I like how Beast, he's serious here, but he still has that kind of little bit of jovialness to him. And this is the Beast I remember, not the nasty CIA covert killer on Krakoa, but we're not going to get into that. So yeah, this story is really well done. ends on a cliffhanger. And then we get Spitfire and Youngblood. And this one's interesting because it opens up on Selene and you see her having a cigarette and you see this smoke off screen. And I just like how it says the suits of London. Savvy Hotel offer the weary traveler view of the Thames. I think I pronounced that. A place to relax. In the case of Selene, Black Queen of the Hellfire Club, a place to do what she does best. And I like how the eye leads down to what's going on here. And then we get this interesting quote from Dorian Gray where it says, to get back to one's youth, one merely has to repeat one's follies. And that really sets up the whole tone of the book. Because we talk about Spitfire, how she kind of has like this mutant regenerative ability, kind of like Logan, where she stays young. And she has to kind of explain it to the media. Now, I've never heard of Spitfire before, so this is a first for me. So if you guys know some other reading, let me know. She's kind of interesting. Now, again, the whole cigarette bit. You think there's two people in bed doing the do-what diddy. Wow. Anyway, I like how she just tells her Hellfire minion to come in, and she's like, oh, Stephen, could you come here for a moment? Yes, mistress, you called? And I'm not going to give the payoff. It's really interesting because if you all know Selene, then you kind of get the gist of what's happening. Now, the whole story here is that Selene wants Spitfire's ability because she says it's taxing the way her powers are to keep herself young. And it's a really nice action-packed story. Now, what gets me as excited is at the end, we just get this off-the-wall Mojo story. And I like how Mojo's like, what's wrong with this picture? And I just love the framing here, how it's like he's looking at the audience and asking them a fourth wall question, which is kind of like the establishing shot leading into that we're in his studios. And they're like, we didn't want you to be upset in my grotesqueness. And he's like, how many times do I got to tell you, Major Jomo, I don't get upset. Now tell me before I lose my composure. I don't know. Anytime I read Mojo, he's one of those ones that can just be completely random and it works. But you come to find out the whole point of this story, it's another one-off and it works. Major Domo's telling him that his ratings have gone down and that he is going to lose his empire by tomorrow. And he's like, why? What's going on? And he's like, behold, the new #1 slot. It's called a documentary. Where's the story? Where's the plot? Audiences no longer care about those things, my lord. It's a whole new art form. And the facial, I think what really sells the book for me is the Mojo facial expressions. It's like, I can't compete with art. I'm in the mass production. And she's like, why don't we make a documentary? And so he's like, So, of course, he goes to his #1 go-to people, which is the X-Men. And he's like, all right, some action. But you come to find out that all they're doing with this documentary, which what you do with the documentary is film people in their natural habitat. He's like, boredom, boredom, boredom. Where are the Sentinels? The Brood, Black Tom Cassidy, Unis the Untouchable, the Terrible Toad. And then he hears, snick, snick, wait. That sound. Wolverine's claws, yes. The ripping of blood, flesh, metal. And you're thinking, oh, we're going to get some action? Celery! Celery? That's it. It's all over. But as Mojo thinks that his documentary is getting ruined, Xavier calls everybody to the danger room for an exercise. And I mean, look at this. We've gone through, 4 stories, short stories. And look at how the artwork just kicks ass in each one. None of them look like they're phoning it in. You can see the drive and the hunger. And I mean, look at this. Look at this. You don't get spectacular artwork like this very much anymore. And I will say again, 91, digital art was still kind of on the up and up. So this was all mostly hand done. Flipping. Impressive. Now the payoff of the story, I'm just going to kind of give you a hint here, is absolutely hilarious. And for whatever reason, it works. So take that as you will. I just don't want to spoil it. I want you guys to go pick this book up. And this was another thing I loved about these Marvel Comics Presents is you get the main character who leads the book, which is Wolverine, which he led most of the Marvel Comics Presents. And then they do this really nice collage of the other characters. And just look at how dynamic and spectacular this looks. It doesn't look flat or boring like with the X Factor art from that one issue that I know I keep bringing up, or the Loki book. This was all dynamic and fun. And it made you want to pick it up for $1.25 because you knew you were in store for some action. So guys, if you've enjoyed this comic book, please, first and foremost, support your local comic shop and pick up a copy. If you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate it if you take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you won't mind hitting that fancy little adamantium bell next to subscribe, that way when you get, you guys will get notified, come to the channel, and we love talking with you all and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. And if you guys are interested in seeing Cyber's first appearance, let me know down in the comments and I'll see if I can't pick up issue 85. And with all that said, I hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading. Thank you for stopping by, and happy hunting, true believers.